So let's move ahead with
This
market
conference
this
will
week.
now be recorded.
Week ended 3rd of August 2018. The market has bounced back. The Nifty has bounced back really well. And after yesterday's fall, we've got a bounce back from the Nifty spot as well as the futures. Let's quickly look into which are the stocks which are pulling or dragging the market up or down. And for this, we go to the index pullers and draggers. Somehow last class we remember, yeah, this time it's working fine. So what do we have? We have HDFC bounced back around close to 2% after that 5-day fall. The trend seems to be in the long term, seems to be okay, not a problem with that. So got an HDFC there, followed by India Bulls Housing Finance on a roll for 3 consecutive weeks back to its erstwhile highs. Strong uptrend from a short as well as medium term time frame. But it seems like it's going to tire down a little bit considering the fact that the runaway has been so sharp. Kotak Bank is bouncing back after yesterday's sharp sell-off. We've got a positive divergences on the momentum indicators suggesting a bounce back. But Kotak Bank, we have a trend which is all on the downside from a short-term perspective. All the 3 moving averages in this case are sloping down. Followed by ICICI Bank, a bounce back candidate also. Let's look at the ones which are dragging the market. HDFC Bank, now that's a mixed market we have. We've got some rally from ICICI and Kotak, and then HDFC Bank, the highest weightage within Bank Nifty, is down for the 3rd consecutive day. These 2 lows turned out to be the immediate support for the stock. A break of that can lead to further downside. Okay, we've got heavyweight Reliance, ITC, not bad. So some big names, Infosys as well, are the ones which are adding a little bit of drag to the market. But overall, we've got a 75 points up from the Nifty, especially considering that we had a down day. Let's turn it to candles because I'm sure that every one of you are more comfortable looking at the candlestick chart. So after a sharp down day yesterday, where everyone would have anticipated kind of an evening star, which is not an evening star, but almost an evening star. Most of us would have anticipated that it would have extended down for a test of this gap at least, but nothing of that sort so far. Sorry for that. Nothing of that so far. So what we have today is a bounce back. It opened fairly up, 50-60 points on the upside. So yesterday's late shorters, those who shorted the market late in yesterday's evening sell-off, well, they are squeezed. I sense that this market is not going to give away that easily. Definitely not. On the contrary, I've got a PhD, which I call the positive hidden divergence over here, and this can lead to a bounce back. If this leads to a bounce back further, I sense that the market will try to close above that 11,356 mark. Not today, but probably later next week, if the rally has to continue. Then it will definitely close above 11,356. That can lead to some amount of late entrance in the market. So Nifty, bullish. We've got a PhD, which I call the positive hidden divergence. It's leading to some bounce back. I sense yesterday's low is an immediate support for the stock, for the index. On the upside, immediate closing price, 11,356 and above. I'm looking at a close above that. Let's quickly look at the Bank Nifty. The Bank Nifty has bounced back pretty well too. We've got a PhD, that is the positive hidden divergence on this one as well. Again, yesterday's low acts as the crucial immediate short-term support, and if I'm not mistaken, there was a gap here. Yes, there you have a gap. The gap acting as a pretty good support from a short-term perspective. So levels on the downside is yesterday's low for sure. Let's look at how these sectors have performed over the last 1 week. So I open the report designer and I quickly go to rate of change. And I ask the software that quickly go to weekly, right? And with that, I'm going to run a 4-week query as well. So 1 week and 4 week, I tell them to run it on the NSE All indices. Let's run it. What do we have? On a weekly perspective, we have the pharma. It's on a roll. So we've got a pharma sector roll for 6 consecutive days. Let's dissect the sectoral chart first. We've got an intermediate downtrend bounce back. We've got a series of higher highs, higher lows. Not bad. No doubt there will be a wall of supply as it tries to test the psychological 10,000 mark on the upside. This is a Nifty Pharma Index. And on the basis of my RSI, I've got a couple of levels. So this level stands out pretty well. If you recall, this is exactly what we were doing in our last market this week session. So this is the resistance. So there you go, close to that psychological mark of 10K. The immediate short-term one is over here. The immediate short-term one is this one, which with today's move, the index is taking that out. If it sustains above that, don't be too surprised if it takes out that 10K mark. This is the weekly chart, and the monthly chart is just suggesting a bounce back after this significant correction for the sector. Let's look at these stocks. The Nifty Pharma, let's quickly look at how these stocks are shaping up. There you go. We've got Lupin, yeah, going all the way up. I was actually looking for a possible swing down from this particular day, but it never happened. In fact, it just rolled up. Short covering, fueling this move for sure. The erstwhile supports over here, they're going to act a bit of resistance, and it should actually, considering that it's going to run away for almost 7 days now. Dr. Reddy also, sharp move up. Glaxo illiquid, but extremely strong uptrends. It's moved significantly on the upside. Aurobindo Pharma, not so much compared to the rest. It's got some resistances at these levels, which is that 629, so 630, 635 range is what is important for Aurobindo Pharma. Glenmark, not bad. Sun Pharma, this is an interesting chart because it's on the verge of a breakout. Is this a pattern? Well, it doesn't seem so strong, but you can call this a double bottom if you want to, and this double bottom gets triggered once it takes out that 600, 610 mark. And mind you, this is a range of around 430 to around 600. So let's say 450 to 600 on, we're looking at 150 points. So the pattern target comes close to 750. Let roll down a little lower. There you go. That's the level from an intermediate point of view, close to that 720. Well, lines out of my RSI reading for the Sun Pharma. Give me a little room so that I can extend my chart further. Yes, this looks good. Okay, this is an important level, there is no doubt about that, but it's way too higher, so we will keep a note on that later. This is an important level, we got that. I'm just quickly trying to figure out some levels out of my RSI reading. These are important, and the stock is breaking out that. As it extends, and if it extends further up, then there you go. This one, this zone acts important. That's your psychological 700. Nice. That's the psychological 700 mark. And also it makes sense to drop a line on this closing price as well. So these are the levels coming out from my RSI reading, which suggests that these are the important resistances to keep a watch on. So the healthcare pharma finally gives us a breather, extends up thanks to stocks like Lupin, Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy. PSU banks, last time we discussed, and I think it was on our 2 weeks back when we discussed about banks, I said that it only makes sense to look at the State Bank of India when you're looking at the PSU banks. Nevertheless, Uh, let's quickly check the PSU banking universe. There you go. This is the PSU bank index. Stocks, sectoral stocks, and PNB bounce back. This is a weekly chart. This is a daily. This is my 75-minute intraday chart. We've got a bounce back candidate. Nothing to be too excited about. Can Bank, similar stories in most of these banking stocks. Don't get too excited when these banks actually move. Let me look at State Bank of India. It's holding well after that breakout we saw above the 280 mark. I don't see any divergences on the daily. I probably, yes, I have a minor small divergence on the daily chart. The stochastics is rolling down. So, yes, it is consolidating in terms of time rather than price. My 75-minute chart suggests that the trend is intact. We might get a breakout. So, 300 is an important level to look for. Not the best price to buy. Maybe if we get a price correction, one can look to add on to State Bank of India. Apart from that, nothing much that interests me. There's got the energy index, zooms up. Reliance obviously plays a very important role in this. What about the draggers this week? We've got negative from auto. Now you see auto comes back again. 2 weeks back, we discussed how auto is at a make or break, and we did draw this line. Remember, this is the important support zone for the Nifty Auto Index. If it breaks down, then a lot of damage can happen to the overall index, obviously to the sectoral stocks as well, which suggests that let's quickly look into that. So let me change the group and open the auto stocks. And what's doing the damage today? Hero Motoco, it's down around this week is up 1%, but today is down 0.5%. Um, Disclosure, disclaimer, I've got a short trade on this stock since yesterday. Those who are my clients, they would know we've got a short trade on this stock. Slightly in the money as we do this market this week. Tata Motors have been weakening. I don't sense that this stock is going to give us a bounce back anytime soon, and those bounce backs are not going to be anything significant. Watch short-term trades. Look at the readings on my momentum indicators on the monthly chart. When was the last time you saw something like this? Was down here. That was 2015. So not a very good strong charts. These Tata Motors DVR, Ashok Leyland bouncing back. I'm not very interested. Among the tire stocks, yes, Apollo Tires holding well. Beautiful monthly, weekly charts. Amongst the two-wheelers, Bajaj Auto, after that murderous fall, essentially holding, just buying time. The weekly chart is all damaged. So this was the support, as you can clearly see, it's right there. But if this fall has to extend, we might get some serious selling in this stock later. TVS, Motherson Sumi, M&M, interesting because it's not giving away at all. The monthly charts got a tiny divergence. The daily charts got some consolidation. We got a breakout bar on Monday. Let me take you down to Monday. We got a breakout bar on Monday. And if you're looking at a chart like this, you would have definitely loved to go long the next day. You would anticipate that the rally will continue. Well, after 2-3 days, I don't see any continuation. On the other hand, just after the day breakout, it's actually come down. Well, in this kind of a situation, do remember that the day when you get the breakout, that is this day, okay, come back to the previous day and mark this low. This is a very important point. This low. This low is a very important point, and if Mahindra breaks this low, then this breakout is a failure. And if this breakout is a failure, the market can come down further on the downside, right? So we've got auto, got few bank nifty is down today, this week, sorry, because the weakness in HDFC Bank. What's happening over the last 4 weeks? PSU banks, thanks to SBI, energy, thanks to Reliance. These are the sectors which have gained over 10% in last 4 weeks. FMCG is doing good. Let's quickly look at the FMCG counters. ITC, FMCG, there you go. How's the FMCG doing today? We've got gainers from GSK, not very liquid, but beautiful chart. All the daily, weekly, monthly charts are well in sync in an uptrend. Jubilant Food, it's just completely bucking the volatility in the market and it's been just running away on the upside. That's your weekly chart on Jubilant. I would definitely not buy at this price, considering the kind of momentum with which it has gone up. Dabur gave a beautiful breakout, and it's up around 12% this week. That's Dabur. ITC flat after last week's big move, essentially consolidating. You can call it a pennant pattern. Those who looks into patterns and trades patterns. I like this kind of a setup. In fact, I like this setup a lot. In fact, I like this setup so much that probably Monday I'm going to go for a long trade on this. In fact, I like this setup so much that today, before the market closes, I can go for probably take a call or a couple of future lots in this one. Looks good. Looks good for a breakout soon next week. Keep a close watch on it. The level that I'm looking at is essentially this red candle. We've got an inside bar today. High of the red candle, low of the red candle. That's your important levels from a short-term perspective. ITC looks very good. Yeah. Okay. Tata Global is not doing good. On the other end of the spectrum, it's coming down. I was looking for a short trade in this zone. Never happened because it went up, and then when I gave up, it comes down. Colgate Palmolive, not so great. Hindustan Lever, yes, looks pretty good. It's at a life high, close to a life high. So overall, ITC and FMCG, Dabur, GSK, Jubilant, overall FMCG has been doing fairly good. So the support comes in from pharma. The weakness in auto continues. The energy stocks, led by your Reliance, is holding well. Let's quickly check IT. This would be an interesting chart to keep a watch for because IT, this is a weekly chart, is in a strong uptrend, there's no doubt about it. The daily chart suggests that we've got a boxy, rectangular kind of consolidation. And I think that it has potential for a breakout on the upside. It can do that. So IT would be an interesting space to watch if the market comes down. Apart from that, we would like to look into the metals because the metals were all beaten down. This is a weekly metal index, fairly downtrend. You need to draw any kind of channels. Sorry, let me try this. So that's essentially the channel through which the index is coming down. It's coming close to the lower border. The trend on my weekly charts are down. The monthly is deteriorating. The daily has moved into a short-term uptrend, but not very impressive. I'll be little worried about the metals index. Despite the fact it has fallen so much, it's back to its 2017 lows, but be careful. I'll be a little cautious with these metal names. So overall, we've got a market which is mixed. In fact, last time we discussed that the market is at an all-time high, was at an all-time high last Friday, but the overall breadth of the market, the overall sectoral performance of the market was not that great because we had stocks and sectors, especially amongst the auto names, which were beaten down. There are a handful of stocks like HDFC and Reliance and the others, ITC, are the ones which were holding the index on the upside. So I would stay cautiously bullish. Number one, I will be not surprised if the Nifty, I generally track the futures chart, so I'll show you the Nifty futures. The Nifty futures closing above the 11,374 mark, 11,375 mark. That gives me a chance of a divergence. So cautiously bullish is my stance as we speak right now. It's almost hitting the high of the day, and it might get. One is for sure that those who went short yesterday with this fall, they are trapped, and probably they will be forced, or probably emotionally they will feel that they should exit the market once it crosses that 11,375, 11,400 mark. The shorts can exit there, and that can lead to some kind of a top out. Too early to say. Cautiously bullish is my stance. 11,375. I would like to see a close above 11,375, and if that happens, today's low and yesterday's low, these two levels should not be breached. If they are not breached, we've got a runaway market, and we'll be heading further upside. If these two levels are breached, this 11,300 and 11,270, so they're like very close to each other. If these levels are breached, then I think that the market can lead to further downside, and in that case, I will be looking at this cluster, these candlestick cluster. So cautiously bullish again. This is probably the fifth time I'm saying that. It's more of a stock specific market. These are the 110 stocks which I generally look into, and we've got a disastrous Jet Airways down close to 9%, Tech Mahindra 1.5% down. On the other side, India Bulls, Shriram Transport Finance, LNTFH, Finance Holdings, Vedanta, NIT Tech. So we've got a mixed market. We've got Yes Bank as a gainer. We've got HDFC Bank as a loser. So overall, it's a mixed market. It's more of a stock-specific market. One should be a little careful. And my approach has been more like short-term trading, right? If I get quick moves, quick gains, I'm taking that profits and booking it out because I'm not too sure, not confident how it may open tomorrow morning. So bullish stays the overall view of the market. I'll take up any questions if you have. We've got Amit, Shailendra, Shiv Shankar, Vinod there as well. So any questions that you might have or stocks you would like me to walk you through, I'm happy to do that. On this Friday, which is the first Friday of the August, we've got a bounce back market in our hands. So what's happening, this is a common thing that I've noticed in the market over the last couple of months is the bulls and the bears are kind of getting trapped when the market falls or rises sharply. So be very careful. Don't buy the breakouts too much because it might be a breakout trap for you. Right? Any stocks, any sectors that you would want me to walk you through or discuss in detail, feel free to ask. As you put down your questions, I'm going to quickly take a look into Maruti. All right, sorry, Hero Motoko. Pardon. All right, so Shailendra has got a question on Maruti and Cipla. Well, Cipla, Shailendra, we had a long trade yesterday. We cut it out. We were anticipating that breakout. We got the breakout, but it didn't hold on to it. That was the daily chart. When I look into the larger picture, the monthly and the weekly looks good. Cipla has always been a slow mover amongst the pharma. As far as I remember, as long as I remember, back in those days, it always used to lag the rest of the movers. In those days, they were Ranbaxy and you got Lupin, Sun Pharma. So the Cipla used to lag, and I've sensed that this lag has become like a habit of the stock. But the structure was always good. Structurally, price-wise, the structure of Cipla, I look at the monthly and the weekly, I don't see much bearishness. All that I can see is clear resistances. It has spent a lot of time in this zone, which is close to that 630 and 700. A lot of tug of war. And very sharply over the last 2 months, it has gained over 100, 150 points. So it's kind of tired, and this shows, especially in yesterday's move, it showed very clearly that it's kind of tired. But if you're long on it, and if you're a long-term holder, makes sense to maintain your position on Cipla. Maruti, I think we discussed this a couple of weeks back when I said that Maruti tends to do this quite often. It gives a big breakout like here, and these breakouts are used by the smart money to get out of the market because that follows a sharp sell-off. This follows a sharp sell-off. These falls are essentially, these rise are essentially opportunities from the institutions to exit, or the smart money, let's say, to exit. The weekly chart suggests a possible double top. It can be the Adam and Eve double top. The range is very clear, 8,500 on the upside and 9,000, looking at 10K on the upside. There's no doubt that it's in an exceptionally strong uptrend. This is the monthly chart, but the sense that I can draw from here is it's going to stay range bound. Short term, I'm not very bullish. Bearishness, I'm not going to go short because it's fallen quite a bit over the last 2 days. 9,000 is the psychological support. So 9,000, 940. If you are a long-term buyer, you can accumulate at these levels, but I'm a little worried about this kind of a structure that is shaping up. This structure, which I have over here, sorry, back to candles. So range bound will be my call. I sense that during this period, if Maruti stays range bound for a quarter or two, then I sense that the money which has come out of Maruti in this fall or in this rise, the money which has come out, would probably go and park it somewhere else. Probably it has gone into pharma, because if you notice, the fall in Maruti like a stock and the other auto, and the rise in the pharma is very, very similar in terms of the number of days. So I would say if you have it, you have it. Don't expect too much out of it. Look for fresh trends, those are evolving. PEL, yeah, definitely we can look into that. I don't track it that often, doesn't come in my radar, but beautiful move. Wow. This is a monthly chart. We got a 6% gain this week. Hitting life highs, is it? Yes, hitting life highs. It's come off a bit from yesterday's high. Candlestick traders will call it a shooting star. It doesn't get any beautiful than this. We've got an engulfing, but I don't see any kind of slowdown in terms of momentum. I think this stock is headed up, much up. So hold on to it. PL looks good. Would you like to buy at this level? Don't look at a dip below 2750 if it comes. Torrent Pharma, Tata Motors we discussed. I think it's the weakness is definitely going to stay. There is no doubt about it. Torrent Pharma, I will take a look. Beautiful move today, 7%. Sorry. Let me always look at, I always use a top-down approach, so I look at the larger time frame, monthly. Nice. These are good structures. These are good price structures. If you've gone long on it, ride the trend. Be a little careful as it comes close to that 1700 mark. If you're a short-term trader, put your orders on the upside. Put an SL market order to book your profits partially. If you're a long-term investor, looks good. It's just making kind of a rounding, a bottom kind of a shape and heading further up. So continue to hold on to them if you're a long-term investor. PL and Torrent Pharma both looks very good from the long-term perspective. Tata Motors, let's talk about some numbers. I said that it doesn't look that good, but let's talk in terms of some levels. I've come to the monthly chart, and what do we have? We've got some support coming in from these highs, which is 2010 highs, 240, 250. So obviously 250 is what we have a low this month. This move, which was on Wednesday, it was a free trade on the downside, 250 round figure, essentially showing that there is some support at the psychological level. Well, in the short term perspective, you can buy and sell, go long and short. But if you ask me long term, I would say 250 makes a sense where you can buy some, considering, make an assumption it can come further down and I will accumulate further. So don't expect that 250 is going to be the ultimate low for the stock. All right. I'm sorry, I cannot see your name. I cannot read your name, but your question is, among pharma, is Cipla better than Lupin and Dr. Reddy, as it didn't correct much? It compared. That's exactly what I was saying some time back, that Cipla's price structure, if you look at the longer chart, this is the monthly chart of Cipla, number one. Look at the same long-term chart of Lupin. And look at the same long-term chart of Dr. Reddy. And let me add the same long-term chart of Sun Pharma. So what I mentioned was Cipla generally holds on to its price structure well, means the Stock does not correct so much or has not corrected so much compared to its peers. It has bounced back well, number one. Because it has better relative strength, it does not, it lacks momentum. So if you just look at the daily chart, just eyeball this and you'll see a lot of red candles and very few limited but very long black, which is like a positive day in my on my chart. So it's a laggard, it moves slow, but it doesn't break down that much. So in that perspective, from a long-term perspective, I would probably stick my neck out and go with Cipla. But then if you're a contra player and you're betting that this is the revival of the pharmaceutical space, then you would like to go with stocks which are beaten down like Lupin and Sun Pharma. And if you have to pick one, I would actually go with both, but I have a edge with Sun Pharma compared to Lupin. Right? Can you do an SIP on Pidilite, that is buy the stock periodically at every time interval, like let's say a week or quarter? Well, you can do that. You can do SIPs with stocks like Pidilite and ITCC. Yeah, I was talking to someone today morning and I was telling him that the consumption story in India persists and it stays and it's here to stay, it seems. Yes, with the overall market corrections, which are healthy corrections, these stocks and the sectors will also come down. You can't say that my stock cannot come down. But overall, if you're talking long term, you're talking systematic investment planning, stick to the consumption space. Don't go too thematic if you want to do SIPs, but I would say that stick to the consumption space, and the large caps like ITC, Hindustan Lever would be a really good addition to your portfolio. Pidilite, Page, and all have become very expensive, so it's gone probably out of your hand in terms of price, close to that 30K mark. But Pidilite, yes, you can do that. You can look into buying the stock. You can do an SIP, or you can just put in a mark that every time it comes down 5 to 8%, I'm going to add. You can do that in terms of percentages also. All right. Okay, so that's more or less it. If you have any questions, you may ask so. And okay, we've got a question on Wipro. Buying time. Look at the monthly chart of Wipro. It's not going anywhere. Weekly charts, downtrend, bounces back. Daily chart suggests that we had a double bottom kind of a situation. We've got a breakout, and the breakout comes and tests those lows, which is resistance becoming support, and we've got a continuation. But when I look at the larger time frame, which is the monthly chart, the thing is going nowhere. Let's compare this with Infosys. Well, this is going places. Let's compare this with TCS. Well, yes, this is also going places. Let's compare this with Tech Mahindra. It won't be that pretty. Similar to Wipro, or better than Wipro, but it is range bound. So Wipro is essentially completely stuck in a range. This range is what TCS used to suffer from before. If I show you the long-term quarterly or the monthly charts of TCS, look, the kind of consolidation the stock had gone through mid 2014 to 2017. So you've got a 3-year consolidation, and after the 3-year, this is the kind of move that you expect. It's going to go much higher than this. So Wipro, I would say, don't. If you're looking to put in fresh money, if you want to trade in and out short term in the futures market, you can definitely do that. Make sure you play in the line of the momentum and the short term trend, right? But for the long term, yes, you can. You may buy Wipro, but this is the long term picture of Wipro, as you can see. TCS took 3.5 months to break out. Will Wipro take that much? It may. My guess is as good as yours. But one thing is for sure, it's a range bound stock. Always, it's one thing that I've learned is always trade in line of the underlying trend. It always makes sense to trade in the line of the underlying trend. But long term, Wipro, you can definitely go ahead and add some in your portfolio. If you think relatively TCS and Infosys have gone expensive. You can do that, but my experience says those which have gone expensive, why have they gone expensive? Why have the street paid a premium and made them expensive? Because they're good. They are good companies. Probably they are good fundamentally. They're good. That's why the street is paying a premium. So if the street is paying a premium, why do you want to shy away from that? Stay with the premium. All right. All right. So any more questions you may ask? Today's week has been fairly choppy. I would use the word choppy. Couple of 3 days. The first 3 days we had a move up, sharp sell-off yesterday. Would have got some hope from the shorts, but no, we're up close to 90 points today. It seems like the party continues. All right then. So we wrap this week's market this week, 3rd of August 2018, as the market tries to inch up and hit a new life high. It's coming up, and by doing that, it might top out. Better clarity we will get next Friday when we meet again, 1 o'clock Indian Standard Time. Thanks for joining in. Take good care of yourself and definitely about your trades as well. So trade well and trade wise. Goodbye and have a great weekend ahead. Take care.